Let me guess. You've got sketches, Pinterest boards, maybe you even have a beautiful digital mock-up. But when someone asks, so when will the first sample be ready? You feel that little twist in your stomach because honestly, you're not totally sure what happens between your sketch and a real product you can hold, try, photograph, and sell. And if you are already tried to create samples, maybe you have experienced this. The sample came back looking nothing like your idea. The fit was wrong, the print is off, and you're left wondering, is this my fault? Did I not explain it properly? If that sounds familiar, take a breath. You're in the right place. I'm Bhavna, founder of Build the Dream brand. And for over 20 years, I have been helping founders, artists, and fashion startups design, launch, and scale brands. And in this episode of the good, bad, and the ugly of building the brand, I want to walk you through the product development journey from your very first sketch all the way to production ready sample. Because product development is the bridge between your idea and a sellable product, where most founders lose money, time, and confidence. So let's change that. Let's talk about the full product development timeline. Every brand is different, but broadly, product development looks like this. Number one, starting with concept and sketch, then technical development, fabric and trim sourcing, then first sample, fit and refinement, and pre production or production ready sample. And most founders want to jump from step one, which is the concept and sketch, to number four, which is the first sample. And they would sketch something and send a quick reference and think, okay, let's just get the sample made. Skipping the middle steps is why things go wrong. Your sketch is your vision. Your product development is the translation of that vision into clear instructions a manufacturer can follow. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't hand a builder a doodle or a sketch and say, here you go, just make it like this. You need plans, measurements, materials, you need components to bring everything together. Your product deserves the same level of clarity. So let's talk about how can you bring your concept to life? And that leads us to creating a tech pack. And what is a tech pack? A tech pack is basically the blueprint of your product. It includes flat drawings of the design, front, back details, measurements and sizing information, fabric and trim details, construction notes, print placement, labeling, and branding, sometimes packaging details as well. If someone who doesn't know you had to create your garment, could they do it based on the information you're giving them? If the answer is no, your tech pack isn't clear enough. You don't have to be a technical designer to start. You can work with a professional or build a simple version, and some of the templates we have created under free resources can help you to build your first very own tech pack. Keep as many details as possible in the pack so you can tell the manufacturer exactly what you're expecting. Don't think like I'll just send some photos from Pinterest and hope they understand. Once you have the tech pack, how do you brief this? Once you have the concept and the tech pack, a brief can help you, which means it could be a short overview of your brand and what you're trying to achieve with the product. The tech pack for that particular style, expected size ranges, maybe target retail price, and any non-negotiables. For example, if it needs to be lined or the print has to be aligned or placed in a certain way, when you send the brief, don't just drop files into an email and disappear. Organize a call with them. Make them understand what your vision is and confirm they understand the same details and invite them to point out any technical issues they see in building this garment from your tech spec. You want your manufacturer to be a partner. So the clearer you are in your brief, the more likely you are to receive a sample that actually reflects your idea, not their guess. So it's like that alignment through the communication you create that will ensure that you get what you're expecting. And that takes us to what kind of fabric or colors or the prints that you are going to put in that tech pack. So fabric sourcing, color matching, and print techniques are also a very big part of getting your idea. So fabric sourcing means what fiber or the weight and feel does your product need? What kind of color, the level of accuracy you're looking for? Maybe you give them a Pantone color and ask them to make it brighter or mellow. Depending on what you're asking them, the color matching really depends because what you see on the screen is not always going to be the same on a piece of fabric. So understanding those kind of compromises or a balance when you're thinking of colors for your product is very important. Types of print techniques also is very important to consider. For example, screen printing versus digital printing, placement versus all over print. If you work with prints, you need to be extra clear how large the print be on the garment and where the motifs placements are. Do you want a soft or a washed look? If you're an artist and you've taken an image of your artwork, does that translate into the correct file in the correct format with the correct colors? These are the questions you need to ask yourself before sending the files to the manufacturer. Ultimately, ask your manufacturer if the fabric you've chosen is right, is the print method you've chosen is right for the product that you are creating. Can you see the previous samples that they have created so you can see the quality, the finish, and the overall look? It's okay not to know all the technical answers. Your job is to ask questions and be open to better solutions while honoring your brand's vision. Now, there are lots of sampling stages once you have given the tech spec to the manufacturer and you have the great communication with them. Now, you get your samples. Now, you may have heard of terms like first, fit, pre-production, production sample. What do they actually mean? The first sample means this is a first ever manufacturer's interpretation of your tech pack. Expect it to be imperfect. They have just taken your drawing and made a physical sample of it. There will be tweaks for silhouettes or construction and overall direction that you need to change in your first sample. Then comes your fit sample, which is a much more refined design, and you will then check it for fit on a real body or on model and adjust things like where the pockets are, length, ease, and proportion. Then finally, once that's set, feedback has been given, you will create a pre-production or a production-ready sample. This is the final version and should match your final product. Fabric trims, fit construction, all aligned, approved, and ready for you to get the product that you can actually sell and be proud of. Get discouraged at the first sample and think they don't get it, or you're terrible at this, or my manufacturer didn't do a good job. But the first sample is meant to be a conversation starter, not the final word. Review it with curiosity, not panic. Give clear, specific feedback, like shorten the sleeve by 2 centimeters. Print needs to scale down by 10%. Neckline should be deeper by 1%. Keep track of changes so each round moves you closer to the final version. It costs money every time you change something. So how many rounds of sampling should you expect and what you should budget for? There is unfortunately not a perfect number, but for a relatively simple product, you might need 2 to 3 rounds of sampling. For more complex designs or very specific fits or sometimes functional fits, you might need more. Plan for it in your timeline and your finances. Instead of thinking I'll get one sample and then go straight into production, expect I'll invest in a few rounds of sampling. A sample may cost you anything around £120 upwards plus shipping, depending on what you're making. And sampling is where you intentionally spend small to avoid losing big later. So, budget for multiple samples per style, shipping costs, your time to review, fit and refine. And this isn't wasting money, it's protecting your bigger investment. Okay. The common disasters I have normally seen in product development process is when the final production, pre-production product does not match the approved and signed off sample. So what I would always say is create two finalized sample, one with the manufacturer, one with you, because that's signed off and that has to stay with the manufacturer as a reference for production. So they have to copy that exactly. The second one I normally see is problems that only show up when customers actually start wearing the product. For example, piling if it's a wool product, or it shrinks when you wash them because they haven't gone through the wash test. Problems that you can avoid at the time of the fit samples. Ask for wash test report, and if possible, if you have the counter sample, wear it for at least 30 days and see the problems that you face with the fabric or the fit or the function of the garment that you are making. And this back and forth I have seen quite a few times because the initial brief wasn't clear or you kept changing your mind. Make sure once you have got a signed of tech pack, you don't go and make changes once the fit sample is signed off. And the last disaster point that I want to cover is where people are just impatient. Founders just want to get it done. They were like, okay, we will just have a compromise, and they don't take the time to actually create the perfect product as they had imagined. And it causes a lot of problems in the long term. So you don't need to be fussy, but you need to ask for what you want and only sign off for what you want. You are being a responsible brand owner when you ask questions and make sure that everything goes as per your vision. Don't rush into it because you have a launch date. So, last thing I want to cover is, do you need a production manager? Because it is a lot of hats that you're wearing as a solo founder when you're juggling with multiple styles, suppliers, timelines, and also your day to day life. It can get overwhelming. Production manager is really helpful as a consultant and can be transformational because they can translate your creative vision into technical language, manage the sampling timelines, and liaise with the manufacturer in the language they speak. Even if you're not at that stage where you can hire someone, you can still think about being organized, keeping records, document changes, have a Google folder with all the document changes and versioning, and build relationships, not one-off transactions. When I've managed the productions for bigger institutions or more complex collaborations, like with museums and with the licensed products, success has always come down to one thing: clarity. Plus, you have an idea, you create the fit sample, and only when you are it matches with your vision, you approve, and then you go into production. But the whole stage has to be managed with clarity plus communication, as we have discussed in this podcast. Notice where you are in your own product development journey Are you still at the idea or the sketch stage, unsure what comes next? Or are you stuck in a loop of disappointing samples or not getting anywhere with manufacturers? Or have you been burned once and you're scared to try again? You're not alone. If this feels confusing or intimidating, most founders were never taught this process. They were just told to go and get the samples mailed and you will have a brand, but you are allowed to have help. You're allowed to learn a smoother, a more supported way to move from sketch to sample. This is exactly why I do what I do. I help founders with insight build the dream brand, and through my mentoring, turn your ideas into clear tech packs and briefs, help you through the manufacturing chaos, guiding you through sampling step by step, helping you make decisions that protect your time, money, and confidence. If you'd like a support, you will find a link in the show notes where you can have access to free resources on our website or download a free from sketch to sample checklist to map out your development stages. Or if you like, book a call and we can look at your idea and figure out what's the best next step together. You don't have to guess your way to product development. You can have a system, a guide, and a clear path from the idea in your head to the sample in your hands. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Building the Brand. In the next episode, we will dive into pricing your products for profit so your brand actually survives. Until then, keep going and keep building.